Kelly Stive.
And I'm Dave Stive.
And we're with Freedom Pest Services. We are here in Fort Mill, South Carolina. The reason we are here today is we are going to talk about a question that one of my friends reached out to me the other day and had some issues with fleas inside and outside of her house. So we decided to share it with our friends and family and anybody else who is interested in learning a little bit more about fleas and what you can do with them and what happens when you get them. So Dave, let's talk about what total flea control looks like, because most of our customers that I speak to think it's just, you know, the pet or the house.
So total flea control has to involve the lawn as well. That is always the source for fleas. Treating for fleas, it's a joint effort. It's the homeowner and vacuuming and us as the professional pest providers and lawn maintenance with regards to insect control or flea and tick control for the lawn as well. So that's really what it looks like in a nutshell. There's 3 or 4 pieces that have to work in conjunction with one another perfectly for the treatment to be successful and for long-term results. It's very easy to walk out of a house with every flea in the house dead. 15 minutes later, that may not be the case if you're walking through a lawn that's infested or you let an infested animal back into your house. So
what does the breeding cycle look like for a flea?
So egg, pupa, larva, and then the adult flea. And lots of times people get confused. Oh, I only saw one flea, one adult jumping, biting flea. That makes up about 1% of the flea population. The rest of the 99% of the flea population is the egg, the pupa, and the larva. And we're not very successful with regards to eggs. Stanley steamer is great to kill all the eggs, but from an insecticide standpoint, the egg is kind of impermeable. So our insecticides focus on the pupa, the larva, and the adult, and they're very effective. And in those, most of the flea-related insecticides, there's also insect growth regulators to help to break the breeding cycle.
Okay. And now, is there a particular flea season that we should be aware of?
Warm months.
Okay.
You know, you're deep into the first couple freezes before the population of fleas outside really disappears. But it's year-round inside. If you don't have, if you haven't taken care of the flea infestation, you will have fleas 365 days a year in your house.
Okay. So IPM, Integrated Pest Management, that's a partnership for the consumer and the pest provider. So what should we let the consumer know that the expectations before we come in to do our treatment? What should they be doing?
I mean, obviously, if there's an animal involved, the animal should be taken to a vet and professionally flea dipped.
And is this they need to be taken away?
Yeah, it all needs to be kind of concurrent, where they're having the animal treated, they're doing a bunch of vacuuming prior to our treatment, so that when we're done and they bring the animal back into the house, the animal is not a source of the treatment failure. In other words, a reinfestation because they've brought an animal back in the house with fleas. So professional pet grooming, including dipping, needs to be done literally while we're at the house during that timeline.
Okay, so they need to make sure that they're vacuuming over and over before we even show up.
Got to get the eggs up.
Okay.
And the vibration from the vacuum cleaner itself will hatch a lot of those eggs, and then the vacuum will actually suck up the adult that emerges from the egg. But the real thing is the beating brush, is to loosen the egg and suck the egg up if it's not ready to hatch yet. So vacuuming is paramount. I say, vacuum 4 times within 2 hours before we get there, and then another 4 times about 2 hours after we leave before you reintroduce the animal.
Okay, so they've done their part, now we come in, so what does it look like on our part? What do we do?
I mean, liquids and aerosols inside of the house, hard floor surfaces, meaning hardwood, linoleum, vinyl. Aerosol is perfect on those. It becomes a little bit slippery, or maybe I should say a lot slippery. It can be treacherous in there. The flea spray is, it's slick. But that is best on all the hard surfaces. From a carpet standpoint, the aerosol works really well. You just always wonder if it's a really, really thick carpet. Is the aerosol penetrating deep enough with the insecticide and the insect growth regulator? So sometimes we'll use liquid spray through a pump sprayer on some of the thicker, heavier carpets to make sure that we're really penetrating it.
Okay. So, when we as the pest provider, we do our part and the consumer does their part, is it 100% foolproof that the fleas are going to be gone? That's the silver bullet question.
Until reintroduction. And that's where lawn maintenance comes in. And that's, even in itself, is not a perfect science. You've got to maintain the lawn with a flea treatment, a flea spray. We use our mosquito misters and the mosquito chemical, because it's labeled for flea and ticks as well, to treat the lawn to keep that outside population suppressed. It's going to be reintroduced every day in our yard. The deer, the 100 deer a day, or the bunnies, or the raccoons and the rabbits and the possums. There's constantly going to be a reintroduction in the lawn. You've got to keep that knocked down over and over again, or the treatment on the house isn't going to do anything with a reintroduction.
So, say somebody has a fenced-in yard.
A bird will fly right over it.
So birds can bring in fleas.
Sure, they can land right next to where a rabbit just scratched 15 fleas. They're there for the worm. The rabbit was there for the vegetation. Next thing you know, the bird lands in your yard, and off pop a couple fleas. So reintroduction is guaranteed.
Okay. And so you don't have to have an animal. You can bring it in as a human.
Right. Walk through your yard in white socks and see what you pick up. It's very easy to see the fleas on the white socks, and that's a key indicator. But so that's for you and I reintroducing fleas into our own house. Then there's the mailman and whoever else, your neighbor that comes over, your friend's kid that comes over to walk your dogs, or whatever it may be. The odds of them coming into your house with a flea it's a calculated risk. So.
Well, thank you for your knowledge. We hope this was informative for you. If you have questions on additional bugs or pests that you'd like some more information, you can go to our website, www.freedompestservices. Send us a note. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.